Should you outsource your marketing campaigns? This is a big question that a lot of people ask when they start their agency, and we're gonna cover it in today's video, so stay tuned, here we go. All right, welcome back everybody, and thank you for joining me. If you're a regular follower, then you probably have noticed there's a little bit different setup here than what we normally have. Well, that's because we've actually moved into our brand new agency and serial entrepreneur brand office. So we are super excited. We're gonna have a video coming later, probably this month, maybe next month, showing you a little bit about the office and why we decided to get it, some of the things that we added to the office so that way it functions not only as an agency, but also kind of works as a production office as well. So we're really excited to show you that, but let's get further into this video and talk about why you should be outsourcing or you shouldn't be outsourcing your campaigns. Oh, and really quick before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell in the bottom right-hand corner if you're interested in seeing any more training content for starting a marketing agency, or if you're just interested in learning more about digital marketing. Oh, and one more thing before we get into the training, make sure you stay tuned to the end where we'll give you a free $50 credit. You'll get your first $50 free when it comes down to hiring your first VA. So make sure you stay tuned to the end, we'll give you that credit. So the big question is, should you outsource your marketing campaigns? Or maybe you should just outsource specific work. Well, let's go ahead and talk about that. First and foremost, let's talk about some of the pros to outsourcing. One of the coolest things about outsourcing, first and foremost, is that you don't always have to set up new systems and processes for that person that you're outsourcing to. A lot of the time, they'll already have a process in place, let's say to edit a video, right? They already know how they want to do that. So really, you just have to give them minor instructions on what you want done to the video. As you guys begin to build your agency, you'll start to learn more and more how much internal operations and processes and workflows are important to your business, because really, that is probably one of the biggest things I think a lot of agency owners kind of overlook. And it's one of the biggest things that help you become more efficient and really produce really effective campaigns. Right? So the less processes and systems you have to build, the better. Another cool thing is, let's say you wanted to hire an SEO manager. Well, the great thing is the SEO manager probably has already paid for a lot of the tools and online software that they will have to use to do their job. Meaning you won't actually have to purchase those tools and software. So it saves on software costs. And there's several other pros, but if you want to see more of the pros, you can actually go over to the blog article, which will be right below in the description, and go check those out there. Now, some of the cons to outsourcing, because yes, there are some cons, is let's start with the fact that you lose a little bit of control, right? If they're a contractor, if you're outsourcing to a person, you can't necessarily tell them when and where they have to be working, right? Because they work for themselves. So you do lose a little bit of control. Also, they usually have their own, again, softwares or systems and processes in place that you can't necessarily change. You can maybe ask them to help adjust, but ultimately it's their decision. So you do lose that control factor that you have when you bring everything in internally. Another big thing is you could potentially hire the wrong person or the wrong firm or the wrong software to outsource to, right? I'm sure a lot of you have had somebody that was a VA that didn't end up working out for you. If you've had a VA that hasn't worked out for you, write what type of VA you tried to hire below and why it didn't work out. We can respond with something to help you really do a better job next time of hiring a person that's going to be more qualified. And then finally, the third thing is, if you're hiring a third party or a contractor, they're not going to be as passionate about that project as you would, right? You have more of a connection to that project because it's your client. It's not really their client, so they don't care as much, right? So there is obviously some good to outsourcing, but there's definitely going to be some downside as well that you'll have to mediate. So I would like for you guys to tell me about your first hire in the comments below. What was your experience like? Did it work out? Did it end up with you having to fire them? Did you have to replace them? What actually happened with that experience? And why do you think, if you had to fire them, why do you think you had to get rid of them? If it worked well, what about that experience actually made it work out to where you keep continually working with that person? So let's talk about some things that you should potentially be outsourcing, because a lot of people are like, well, Jordan, I don't really know what to outsource or when to outsource. We'll talk about when in a minute, but as far as what you should outsource, it's pretty much everything. You can outsource any aspect of your business, and that's why this is so cool. And in my opinion, especially when you're first starting, you should try to outsource as much as possible. Why? Because it's going to take a lot of that extra effort and work off of your plate, leaving you to be able to focus on the growth of your business, right? Which is way more important than trying to write social media posts. So That leads me to the next point, which a great person or a great role to hire for is for writing. You can look at copywriting, blog writing, social media post writing, sales page writing, website copywriting. There's all kinds of different versions of writing that you can hire for. And writing takes a lot of time. And if you're not great at it, then you probably shouldn't be writing anyways. Like me personally, I don't like writing. I'm not the greatest writer. So I hire people who are great at it and enjoy doing it, which means I don't have to write blog posts, social media posts, website copy, and I can go out and find more clients for my agency. Web development or web design, right? This is a huge thing because not a lot of you are actual web developers, meaning you don't know HTML5, you don't know JavaScript, and that is, that skill alone probably takes years and years to really master. So most of you who are joining this SMMA, journey, or if you're starting your own agency, I really strongly recommend against you not developing websites. What you would actually do is plan what the website would look like, plan some of the SEO for the website, but that's it. From there, you're going to pass it on to the designer and the developer and let them kind of do their thing. Obviously, editing and graphic design, so things like video editing or image editing, those are things that you definitely want to outsource. Maybe you need to do video for a client or something like that. That would be video production. So what we're doing is we're potentially hiring a local videographer. They give us a deal on the rate, and then we upcharge to our client that rate that we need to charge basically to make money, basically to be profitable for that video production job. And so we don't spend too much more time on this section. You can outsource things like SEO, PPC, email marketing. What else do we have over here on my list? Data and analytics, social media management, ad campaigns. All of those can be outsourced as well. If you want some more information on each one of those sections, you can actually, again, go over to that blog article, which will be left right in the description, and we have tons more information there for you. And PS, make sure that if you want to learn a little bit more about outsourcing, that you check out this video up here in the top right-hand corner of the video. This is all about outsourcing, how to build an agency that's $10,000 plus per month, and you're outsourcing at the same time. Plus, it's a partnership with FreeUp that we did with them. We have a really great relationship with Nathan Hirsch, who is the owner of FreeUp, and we'd love for him to be able to tell you guys about his experience with outsourcing, and he has a ton of it, so make sure to check out that video. All right, so now let's talk about some of the time constraints and when you should start outsourcing. Guys, the simple answer to this question is as soon as you get your first client, you should already actually have an outsourcing plan in place, meaning before you even get the first check from that client, you should have already done a little bit of research on what services you're going to need to provide, and then go try and find some freelancers that you can line up to get going as soon as you get paid by that client. So in short, get them as soon as you can. Like, do not wait. Do not try to manage everything by yourself because, again, it does not allow you as the business owner to focus on growing revenue. And that is the most important thing in the beginning, is trying to get in as much revenue as you can so you can build a solid internal team, start building out internal processes and operations, and then really, again, scale that business up to 6 figures or more. So I'm going to run through some really quick time constraints, basically how long it would take you to do a specific job. I'm not going to go through all of them. If you want to see all of them, you can go and actually check that out at the blog article on our site, again in the description, but we'll go through a few of these really quickly. So let's look at writing. DIY, if you wanted to do it yourself, could take anywhere from 5 upwards of 20 hours depending on the project that you're working on. But to outsource that same project would probably take you anywhere from 3 to 10 hours. So what are you gaining? You're gaining another 10 hours potentially if it reaches that high point to do a little bit more work, whether that be going out and landing more clients or building more proposals or working on an internal process that you need to get done so that way your writers and your managers of social media can do their job properly, right? All of these things are what are great about getting that time back, and the only way to get that time back is through outsourcing. All right, so web design. Web design could easily take upwards of 5 to 10, even 15 hours if you're the one doing all of the work. Just the colors and the images and the font style and the spacing, that could take 10 to 15 hours, right? Or you could hire a designer and they're gonna be able to finish that same job probably in about 3 to 10 hours, right? So you guys can see where the delineation comes from, where it becomes difficult for you to be able to manage your business, but also get all of the work done at the same time to scale your business and then complete the operations or the day-to-day work, right? You cannot do both at the same time. That's why this is so important. So again, I'm not going to go through all of the different services and the comparisons of how long each one will take, but again, if you want to see more, all you got to do is click that link in the description. So some questions that you should ask yourself about outsourcing and building that external team. So the first question is, what can you afford? Can you pay the hourly rate that they're wanting or the salary if you're trying to bring someone internally that they require? And that's why it's important. Again, I mentioned earlier that you should do a pre-planning session to figure out, okay, how much is this outsourcer going to cost? What job or tasks are they going to perform? What do I need to charge my client, or at least for that service, what do I need to charge my client to be able to be profitable, right? So it's important to do that step before you ever land that first client, or before you really even set up your pricing packages. You need to understand how much it's going to cost you to do jobs, right? And so that's one of the best ways to do it. So you have to understand, can you afford it? Next is, do you have the infrastructure? And this is something that we learned a lot about over the last year, because we've probably spent about $60,000 on building a lot of our internal infrastructure. So what do I mean by internal infrastructure, right? What I'm talking about is called SOPs, which stands for Standard Operating Procedures, or workflows, right? And this is what the people on your team follow to complete a job. So let's say I need a blog article done. Well, if a blog article needs to be created, we have to write the article. We also have to do SEO research for keywords. We have to understand the linking strategy. We have to understand graphics and images. Maybe there's a video, right? So how do we get all of these things done where it's done in an orderly fashion, but also in an effective time, right? That's where these processes come up. So step 1 is plan for the blog, create keywords, right? Step 2 is write the blog, or write the outline for the blog. Step 3 is get the outline approved. Step 4 is get the actual blog written, right? So you have all of these steps lined up so that way people know exactly what they're doing and they're not just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. But you can ask anybody who runs a successful 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure business. They will tell you operations and internal processes is more important than trying to go out there and land clients, determine your pricing, figure out your freaking logo or your name of your company. All of that stuff is nothing compared to internal operations and what it can do for your agency. So spend a lot of time there. And then finally, you should ask, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? And be brutally honest with yourself. If you can't write, that's okay. You don't need to be a great writer. You don't have to be great at everything. So find what you are good at and focus on those things, all right? Then let people who are great at writing focus on the writing tasks, all right? It's common sense, but it needs to be said, because a lot of people will still try to take on that job, even though they're not the most qualified for the job, just so they can try to save a little bit of money. In the end, it will make you more money and save you more money to let the experts do it themselves. So should you outsource your marketing campaigns? I'm pretty sure it's clear by now that yes, you guys should all be outsourcing as much as you possibly can. And the thing is, I think a lot of people get caught up in the mentality that they have to be the ones performing every single aspect of the job because their clients will get upset if they're not the ones managing it, or they won't trust them. Guys, in reality, the clients don't care. If you're making them money, they don't care who's managing the campaigns or who's involved, right? They just want to make money off of the marketing money that they're paying you. So find a way to get results. Don't worry about trying to, disguise or hide everybody on your team. Be transparent about it. Tell them, yes, I have a team of 10 people who work for me. I have writers and video people and audio people, just whatever you have to tell them, but don't try to hide it from them, and don't make it seem like it's some sketchy service out in the middle of nowhere. Just be completely transparent. Yes, they're my team, they work for me. I'm the business owner, obviously. Just like you, I can't be tied down in all of the day-to-day operations of getting my business going, right? I have to scale too, and that's how we do that. So understand, as the entrepreneur, consider yourself, and you are because you're the owner, consider yourself a CEO. Do you think the CEO is down working on the assembly line? No, they have people doing that, right? So they don't spend their time there because it isn't beneficial financially for them to. Kind of think of it like that. So that is all you need to know about whether you should outsource your marketing campaigns or not. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we're gonna give you a free $50 credit for your first outsourcing job. You can either use this coupon right here, or go right in the description below, and we will have a link right there next to something called Free Up, and you can get your free $50 credit there. But that is it for today's video, guys. Make sure you go back through this video and check out the other videos that I recommended, as well as leaving comments below about your outsourcing experiences. But that is it for this one. I will see you guys on the next one. Until then, Serial Entrepreneur out. Bye, guys.